Hi, everybody. Sal Mayorana here, joined by Mike Lindsley on the Pinstripe People podcast, presented by FanDuel on the Believe Sports Network. And Mike, hope you had a nice 4th of July. I assume if you did, you didn't watch the Yankees game that particular day, or Sundays for that matter. Absolutely two lifeless horseshit performances. Mike, this team is in big trouble, even though it's only July 6th. They've got some big problems. Why don't you give us your opening comment and we'll roll from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of went from the low of the Tigers, right? Low of the Red Sox, rather, then lower with the Tigers, getting a series we thought we were going to get the time before against the Tigers. And then it was, oh, yeah, but remember when you're always struggling, there seems to be a central team in the AL that just kind of bails the Yankees out. Even if there's a lot of injuries, they're not hitting all the problems we see. They're layered. Boone mismanaging the bullpen, the roller coaster that it is. But there's a central team where it's a 4-game set. You win 3 of 4, and they're just kind of back on the regular season train again, right? Well, most of the time, that can be the Minnesota Twins. Oops. Now you lose a series to the Twins, a team, by the way, which when you watch these games with both of these teams, the lineups combined are just dreadful. I mean, Buxton and Lewis are the only two real guys who most people would know. And Buxton was this heralded guy, had 1,000 injuries. He's 32 years old already and was just kind of playing out his career to try to save something. Their lineup is pretty weak as well, Sal. So this was, I don't know. I mean, lower, and lowest. I mean, you didn't think it could go lower than the other two series. And you're also waiting to get people back. Meanwhile, Rodon goes down, during this time. Fried, I know, is trying to battle back. Judge is still probably a month away at least, right? I don't know, man. It's brutal right now. And the lowly Twins, the AL Central, could not bail the Yankees out. It usually does.
The Twins have been their punching bag for almost a quarter of a century. I think the Twins were 46 and 127.
Yeah.
Since 2002 coming into this. It's the worst record. It's the most lopsided opponent matchup in MLB in that time frame, which is no surprise because that's almost absurd how much the Yankees have dominated them. And then, the Yankees opened the series with a 5-2 victory. It was nothing special, but they did just enough in that game to get the win. The bullpen was really good. Garrett Cole gave him 5 innings. It was almost 4 because Boone wanted to take him out after a rain delay, and then he was at 78 pitches, and Cole basically said, "Get out of my face. I'm going out there for the 5th." Took care of business, and then the bullpen was really good that night. So, here we go, right? The Twins are in town. Thank God they got here just in time. And then Saturday and Sunday, Mike, the Yankees could not have been worse. I wrote in my newsletter this morning, if you can't hit, you can't pitch, and you can't field, you can't win.
You're done.
And the Yankees did none of those 3 things in the last 2 games, which has been similar to this. They're 4-13 in their last 17. As I said, 3-12 in the last 15. You can't win if you can't do all those things or even one of those things.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you watch teams go through stretches of the highs or the lows, a lot of times the analogy would be in the NFL, you could win maybe, and this up close and personal covering the Bills and the league for that matter, could win 3 of 4. And in a couple of those games, you're bending but not breaking, but you win them because you've had that locker room chemistry, know-how to win, right? You even saw the Bills have some of that, not in the drought, but now during the Allen era. But Josh maybe saves them a couple times. The quarterback covers up some deficiencies, right? In baseball, if you're not hitting great with runners in scoring position, but you have the elite pitching staff, which, oh, by the way, the Yankees, they had one of those, right, Sal, for a few months where you could go out and win a 2-1 game. Now you've had Schlittler banged up a couple times recently in terms of his starts. Cole came out strong. Now he's not. Rodon is now injured. They're waiting for Fried to get back. So, and Warren, we've talked about as the guy who I look at as kind of you just really don't know. And he just doesn't have the blowaway. Then you look at the RISP, which is always the problem for the Yankees getting runners home. The fielding is suspect at best. So they don't even have 1 or 2 to mask the other ones is what I'm saying. And so sometimes when you go through a stretch in 162 where you can win 10 of 14 against the bad teams, if you're missing 3 of the 4, they're still going to beat you. And that's what's happening to the Yankees.
Let's go back to Thursday's day off. Of course, it could never be an easy day in Yankee land. So the weekend starts with the news that Carlos Legrand down in AAA has a sprained, capsular, whatever it is, in his shoulder. I don't care what the injury is. It's in his throwing arm. He's been shut down. You're not going to see him now probably for a month, I would guess more.
Yeah.
And this experiment that they've been working on to get him ready to be in the bullpen for right around now. I mean, he was getting close to being called up to be hopefully a quasi savior of a bullpen that needs the help. Forget it. He's done. I would doubt very highly, Mike, that they're going to bring him up for the postseason if he hasn't had this runway they were trying to give him in the regular season. So, I mean, I could be wrong. They could be in such a desperate situation by then. Maybe they'll have to do it. But that was the first body blow of the weekend. Yep. Then Friday afternoon, and as I also wrote in my newsletter, we've reached the point in the season, Mike, where you wake up every morning and you check Twitter to see which Yankee is going to be injured.
Totally.
Sure enough, he tells us that Rodon has inflammation in his throwing elbow. He's going to be shut down for at least a month for sure. And now a rotation, Mike, that started so great, and as you just laid out, has not been great. And you didn't even mention Weathers, who's been probably the worst of them all lately. Another shitty start on Sunday. All of a sudden, this rotation, which was the strength of the team, is now going to be a problem. And I said 2 weeks ago, Mike, that I would not even consider trying to trade for Tarik Skubal. It's the one thing they didn't need was a starting pitcher. If this season is truly salvageable and they think they have a chance to win or to get to a World Series in what is a weak AL, Mike, they might have to reconsider. If they didn't already wipe it off their board, they might have to think about it now, because this rotation is in trouble and they need help.
I would, again, because of the climate of the Yankees, I know what a lot of people say about, isn't it kind of exciting to have a few young guys in there? You know, it's been great and exciting to watch these guys, the all-stars, right, with Schlittler and Rice and all that. And listen, nobody is more of a fan of the farm system than I am. I mean, we know how the 90s started. They made shrewd moves and trades, but the backbone was Jeter, Mo, and Bernie, right? And all those guys. It was the foundational guys, Posada, Pettit. And I'm all in on farm systems if you know how to use it. If you know your floor and your ceiling and you can grow them and you know where they are in spots, you know when to bring them up. When you're scouting hits, you're never going to get every move right in every single sport. It doesn't matter. I'm not asking to do that. I'm also not asking to win the World Series every year. But as long as you're never going to, at least right now, it feels like they can never figure out guys. The Ben Rice thing is a great story. Still need to see a way larger sample size, of course, for the duration of his career. But Sal, yeah, I mean, if you're going to tell me that you're going to move off of a couple of guys for two monster dudes who can just get you to a series because the AL sucks, okay, I'm always going to do that. And by the way, we can look back on the only World Series appearance since 2009. Sure, they got exposed by the Dodgers, but they did make it based on the climate in the AL. And why did they make it? A big part of that was Juan Soto. They went out and traded for one of the top 5 at the time players in the game, and he helped get them to a World Series. This pitching staff is, and by the way, Sal, the wear down hasn't even really started because we're not even at the top days of August.
Think about Weathers is just about at his career high of innings, and he's already starting to go in the tank.
Already.
He's just not the same, right? Warren, I have a little more faith in because we saw him do it last year. He took the ball 32 times. You know, he hasn't pitched great lately, but I think overall his body of work, I'm not too concerned with him. He's exactly who he is, a 4 or a 5 starter. So I'm not really too concerned about him. He's not going to be a starter in the postseason anyways, unless there's just a calamity of injuries.
Yeah.
It's Rodon now out again. He already missed the first 2 months. He's going to miss a month plus now. Fried's going to go on 2 months before we see him again. Cole's already missed the first 2 months. Guess what? Those guys are all in their 30s. That's why this is happening to the Yankees. So that's why, I mean, I'm not really in favor of blowing up the farm system to get Tarik Skubal for 3 months. But if it means that they might get to a World Series with him, I think they have to consider it. If you put a gun to my head right now, Mike, I would say, no, don't do it, because it is going to be a rental. And I probably wouldn't. And the trade deadline is still 3 weeks away, or 3.5 weeks away. Maybe the Yankees can climb out of this hole and get back onto a track where they don't need Skubal to get there. We'll see. But it's a tough decision. I got to say, Cashman's going to have a tough decision come whatever that date is, July 31st, August 1st, whatever it is. And who knows if the Tigers would even move him. I mean, the Tigers, thanks to the Yankees, by the way, have sort of, rekindled their season. Yeah. So maybe they're not going to move him at all. But anyway, so that's how the weekend started. The Friday game, real briefly, Cole was a Bulldog, gave up the early home run, which has become a habit lately, but they got right back into it after the rain delay. They went ahead 3-1. Grisham came back, hit a home run. McMahon came back, had a key hit when they got 2 runs in the 8th to put it away. Grisham was also on base after a single when Rice hit the go-ahead 2-homer. So that was a nice night. But enough about that night. This is supposed to be a negative podcast. Let's get to Saturday. Mike, this is what I have an issue with, and I did not get an answer. I can't ask the question. I'm not there. I never saw anybody write, when did Rodon tell the Yankees he had a sore elbow? Because if he knew on Thursday, okay, they could have scratched Elmer Rodriguez, who pitched that night in Scranton,
right? And
they could have brought him up for the Saturday start. Now, look,
sure,
he has not been very good in his 5 starts up, but he is one of their top prospects. He pitches Thursday because they don't tell us until Friday. Now, maybe Rodon came in Friday morning and that was it. Again, we didn't really hear an answer, but I questioned whether they knew about it on Thursday. Anyways, long story short, they got to bring Brandon Beck up for the spot start. Oh, my God. He looked like you and I could have been out there pitching those first 2 innings. He was overwhelmed. Twins jumped all over him. They had 3 runs before they even made it out. Mm-hmm. And they ended up 5-0 off of him in the first 2. The game was over right there. Crazy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, with the pitching thing, too, I just wanted to add one minor thing on the Skubal deal. If you did get him, you're probably definitely not going to pay him long-term, like you said, because of a couple of reasons. One, they're just kind of getting out of those big deals. And they're just doing enough to bring in guys who are, by the way, like Fried and Rodon money-wise, which are still big. And now these guys are hurt. By the way, they have injury records. They have track records. Rodon has injury track record. Fried has the blister issue, has had that in the past. So, like, Cashman has been known to sign these guys with injury problems. And if you were to get Skubal and sign him to $40 million a year, you're going to now have Cole, Skubal, Fried, and Rodon just in that rotation. There's zero chance of that. So
no, they're not doing that. You're right.
He would be a rental.
He'd be a rental.
No doubt. But I wanted to add to that this, again, see in front of it. Because Rodon and Fried, there was a good chance of an injury and another one and another one and another one. That's why you don't give the big bulk money deals to guys who are repeatedly injured over and over again, no matter if they're a pitcher or a position player. And now in the case of the Yankees, we fast forward to that Saturday and you're just out of people. But isn't that just so typical Yankees too, though? I mean, whatever medical staff, the one from 5-6 years ago that Cashman fired, then they redid it. And it looked like the Yankees were on their way to having all the injuries and the communication and the manager and everybody on the same page. That year, they did go to the World Series, by the way, right? Well, then since a couple of years, they've had changes up and down. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, inside the building in terms of communication for who's starting where. But that game Saturday was over like legit, just snap of a finger. And a lot of times that's what happens when you bring up a no-name dude who you just have to throw in there. Bye-bye. And that's where you see a lot of those guys who just go 5-6 innings to just save a bullpen where they, and then a position player comes in, it's 11-1 in the 8th and they throw like one of those lob balls and then a guy hits a 3rd home run out. I think that actually happened to Swanson last week. That was where he got his 3rd home run in that game where he hit that one ball that kind of came up and it was a little league softball throw. But this series was, again, an abomination. And it's almost like, can you just get a few wins and then just get to the All-Star break and maybe just reset, right? Because that's another opportunity to just reset. I mean, that's maybe where we are, Sal.
Yeah. That Saturday game, they're down 6-0, and they did actually make it interesting in the middle inning. Schumann hit a 2-run homer, got it to 6-3.
It was a good swing. Yeah.
It was a good swing. Good for him. They get it back to, I'm looking at what I just wrote here. So then they get a couple guys on, a couple walks, I think it was. Bellinger, it's an RBI double. If you could believe this, Mike, that was his first RBI in 15 games. I mean, with Judge out, Bellinger and Rice have to carry the team, and they've been as bad as everybody else. Anyways, they get it to 6-4. They've got men on second and third with 2 outs. And here's where, Mike, when things aren't going your way, it just snowballs. Dominguez hits one on the nose. Would have been a 2-run single if he hadn't hit it right at the second baseman to end that inning. And then they get to the bottom of the 6th, the ultimate gut punch. They've got the bases loaded with 1 out. And we'll talk about these 2 moves that Boone made. And I agreed with both of them. Believe it or not, I actually agreed with Boone. He brings in Rosario to pinch hit for Ali Sanchez. He's had a couple hits since he's been up. He stinks. So I had no problem going to Rosario. He puts up an absolutely horrid at bat. The third strike he swung at was in the other box over his head. So he whiffs to leave the bases loaded. Now they bring up, who was it? Then the other move. He pinch hits because Grisham was the DH. He wasn't in center. So he brings in Goldschmidt to be the pinch hitter and to be the DH against a lefty. Now, Grisham came off the IL, had a nice game Friday. He's been okay lately. He's actually been one of their better hitters. But, Mike, I had no problem with going to Goldschmidt, even though he was 0 for 12 at this point, and he's been, again, as bad as everybody else. He flies out, end of inning. They leave the bases loaded, and from there, Minnesota just said, okay, thank you very much, and they started tacking on and ran away with it. Those 2 moves were the right moves. They just didn't work out, and ultimately it probably cost them the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think those were probably the right moves. And by the way, it's kind of like at this point, with the hitters being so weak in the lineup, it's like those were the right moves, and yet you still don't feel great about it because they don't have anybody. They just don't have anybody. And again, runners in scoring position. If you get 2 or 3 extra hits while guys are on like that, you're offsetting another problem. In this particular case, what is it? The pitching. The pitching going in, you knew you were going to have a challenging weekend. Well, how do you get out of that? You try to score more than the other team. It's like when you're missing an extra safety, a linebacker, and an edge rusher in football, put 10 more points on the board with your electric offense and your elite quarterback, right? Or if you're in another sport like hockey and you're missing somebody, your goalie's out for a week, you got to back up playing a few games, your big-time top 6 have to perform. Again, this is sports. It's teamwork. It's trying to do one thing great if another thing's falling down. And they just can't hit with runners in scoring position, Sal, and they haven't for a long time.
Mike, I've got the number if you want to hear it. I mean, I hope you're not going to throw up your breakfast here when I tell you this stuff.
Haven't eaten yet. I'm doing my fasting.
Oh, well, good. So you should be okay. So here's what the Yankees have done. One paragraph that I wrote. Right now, they're an MLB. They're only the team that's 1-9 in their last 10. As I've said, 4-13 in the last 7. In those 17 games, Mike, outscored 91-47. The New York Yankees have gone 12 for 102 with runners in scoring position. Unbelievable. They've given up, not in the last 17 games again, they've given up 29 unearned runs. That's almost, now Katie Sharp had a stat yesterday. She only took the last 15 games. It's the most unearned runs in a 15-game span since 1935. Thank you very much, Yankees, for that history. And the rotation, Mike, in the last 17 games, the starting rotation, the strength of the team, has pitched to a 4.92 ERA and a 1.470 WHIP. That is Colorado Rockies level pitch from all-stars. And, Rodon was part of that before he got hurt. They've just done, as we said before, everything poorly. At the same time, it's incredible that it's all come together like this. Now let's talk about Camilo Doval, because we cannot avoid talking about the Camilo Doval shit show. Comes in the game Saturday. It's over. We already know this. Gives up 4 unearned runs. Sunday, he came in, gave up 2 of the unearned runs. Okay, they're unearned, Mike, but guess what? He deserved every bit of the damage because he also gives up hits and walks and home runs. He gave up 6 runs total on the weekend. Yeah, they were all unearned, but why were there runs scoring? Because he kept putting guys on base too to augment the problem with the fielding. So Boone continually defending this guy said yesterday, he actually said that he's pitched well. He said that to the reporters in his press conference that he has pitched well. Mike, he's one of the worst pitchers in Major League Baseball. And Boone, I told him, he's like Jesus Christ. He's more forgiving than Jesus Christ. He keeps putting him out there day after day, thinking something's going to be different, and it's never different. It's incredible to watch.
Aaron Boone is the cool uncle. I told you
cool uncle.
He's the cool uncle at Christmas. Johnny rips down the Christmas tree. It's all good. Throws a plate across the room. It's all good. He's a well-behaved child. He is, if Aaron Boone took over as commissioner of Major League Baseball, he'd probably add 4 wild card teams. He's the only one besides Rob Manfred who could add more wild card teams. And I love the baseball stuff that you throw out with the numbers. I mean, is baseball not a numbers game or what? Mm-hmm. I mean, in the last 15 or the 12 of 15, and I've got this from the last 17 and this and that. I mean, it's like last week
you can twist it any way you want to make your point. We know this.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But in this case, it's factual. It's factual. We're not making shit up here.
Crazy. When you gave me the runners in scoring position, I actually was floored that it was that good. I really was. I was thinking it was more like 8 of, whatever, 114, 115, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's been so brutal. I mean, it makes me think about the video I put out last week. I was kind of doing some repurposing and put out a video why I don't think Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer. And of course, some person on X is like, oh, and he does the whole, finds 4 statistical things to counter it. But in this particular case, yes, absolutely brutal. And Doval, I mean, come on. This is Boone in his pressers and the players and defending them. And, my favorite one, though, through the Boone tenure has been always, we believe in the guys in the room. Judge.
It's all right there in front of us.
It's all right there in front of us. We believe in the guys in the room. We're a bunch of fighters. Judge, I mean, Boone's got to do the double cliche BS because Judge is hurt, right? So he's got to probably talk more. But Doval, come on, man. I mean, it's brutal. He's the gift that keeps on giving for the opposition.
Yeah, I don't understand why they keep running him out there, why they still believe in this guy. Look, just admit the mistake and move on. Meanwhile, they had Giovanni Cruz up. I don't know much about anything with Giovanni Cruz. He's a 26-year-old kid. He made his Major League debut, I think, earlier this year. Right. But brought him up again during the week. He pitched against the Tigers. 2 perfect innings. Yep. That's the second time in a row he's pitched 2 perfect innings. He did it in his previous recall. He throws 100 miles an hour. He's got a splitter that apparently he's been working on. It's getting better. They sent him back down, Mike. Like, you've got a bullpen that is crying for help. Why would you not give this kid a little bit more of a chance? I don't know if Duvall has options. I'm not sure if they can even send him. He probably doesn't. He was an all-star in 2023 for the Giants. So I don't know if they could send him down, but they kept Jake Bird up on the team instead of just keeping, because I know he has options because they've been sending him back and forth. They just make decisions, Mike. I just don't understand some of the thinking. You just watched this kid throw 2 perfect innings. You've watched Jake Bird serve up home runs all season long. Give this kid a chance, and they don't do it. It really is puzzling to me what the strategy is with this roster construction.
Well, it's the classic Yankee thing, right? I mean, when a guy goes 3 for 4, Boone gives him the day off next day.
Yeah, they don't believe in hot or cold.
It's baseball is a grind. They're used to playing every day. They want timing and rhythm. But in Yankee land, if you go 3 for 4 and have a great day, you get the day off the next day. Same thing here. And roster construction is the same thing. I mean, where's my drum? Where's my dead horse? I mean, I keep going on and on with it, right? I mean, it's the Hal Cashman Boone way. The trio stands until the trio goes away. You have no hope of a championship constructed roster. You don't. Over and over again. I say it over and over again. It's these 3 guys. It's the 3 pillars, and they ain't moving.
Yep. Yesterday, Sunday's game, Ryan Weathers stunk again. I think it's in his last 9 starts, he's given up at least 4 earned runs. With this offense, Mike, it's a death sentence. The starter can't give up 4 runs. So it happened again yesterday. He was not good. He only made it through 4 innings. Joe Ryan absolutely toyed with the Yankees. You know, I wrote in my newsletter leading into this series, the Twins were going to be the happiest team in Major League Baseball this weekend because they were going to play the Yankees.
Yep.
It's just right time, right place to be playing the Yankees. Joe Ryan took that to the nth degree, absolutely dominated them. He gave up 3 singles. And in the 7th inning, he gave up a single and a walk. It was the first time the Yankees even touched second base the entire game. Just a dominant performance. I mean, they looked like they had toothpicks in their hands trying to bat against this guy. It's just, it was, Mike, the last 2 games about as lifeless as you could be. And what I loved yesterday about yesterday's game, because I was watching yesterday, I didn't see much of the 4th of July game. The fans were booing. They booed Duvall off the field. Volpe made a stupid error. They booed him loudly. Chisholm got one of the singles, immediately gets picked off. They booed him. I think Yankee fans, I mean, usually you go to that stadium. I don't know when you were there last, but it's just people are there because it's a ballpark.
Yep.
And it just feels to me, it feels like a minor league park sometimes.
Yeah.
They're not even paying attention
They're there
to what's going on. They're there to hang out, drink their beer. You know, when I was there with my son a couple of weeks ago, these 2 people, a couple, sat next to us. They show up in the 1st inning. They sit down for a half an inning. They were gone for the next 4.
Yep.
I'm like, and so then I moved over. I'm like, oh, good, we got some space. Then the dude shows back up in the top of the 6th inning. I feel like saying, like, where the hell have you been? Drinking somewhere, aren't you watching a ball game? You paid X amount of dollars, watch the ball game. It's just like, so my point on this is I was glad that Yankee fans woke up yesterday and actually booed the performance because they have been a waste of money. People are wasting their money watching the Yankees right now. So it was good to see that they booed them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's so many issues, you know, with the team and, you know, Yankee fans, there are a lot of them I can't stand. There's a lot of fans in every fan base that you can't stand, but there are still some pretty good, knowledgeable Yankee fans. And, you know, in the George days, and Mike Vaccaro will probably laugh if he hears this because in his book and with my interview, it was like, you know, so many Yankee fans will say, well, if George were alive and then it's ... what would he do with this current mess, right? Well, he'd can a lot of people. That's the first thing. But he would hear the fans. George was a big listen to the fan guy.
He was.
Hal was not that guy. And the fans, they get pissed, but they don't listen to him. And again, it's the tree. It's the 3-pillar tree of Hal, Cash, and Boone. And there's a lot of people that have been tired with them for a long time. And I think a lot of the booing comes from that. I do.
Yeah. So now they got Tampa Bay, Mike. And I mean, it's too early to say that it's the most important series of the year to date, but it's too early to say that it's do or die for the Yankees, right? I mean, we'll see. There's still a lot of time, but as I made the point in my newsletter, this was right around the time last year when the Blue Jays zoomed right past the Yankees.
Yep.
Yankees went into a tailspin. The Blue Jays got red hot in the division. They ended up catching them in the end and lost in the tiebreaker, but it was right around now. And now the same thing is happening with Tampa Bay. Just when the Yankees have gone completely in the shitter, the Rays have picked it back up again. They lost 2 over the weekend, which was good. If they hadn't lost those games to the Astros, the Yankees would be in really, really big trouble. At least they lost 2. They're still within shouting distance. This is the biggest series of the year. And the Yankees, I would call it a critical series because they've got to at least split and hopefully take 3 to get back in this thing.
No doubt. And it's at Tampa where nothing good happens. So we'll see what happens there. By the way, over the weekend, Yordan Alvarez again. Every single thing that comes into that guy's zone, goodbye. He is absurd. He's having one of those Ortiz kind of years. I mean, and, you know, I don't care if he's a DH or not. I mean, he's the only reason really to watch the Astros. They've all of a sudden, by the way, just a couple games under 500 now. They've all of a sudden kind of had a nice little month rally here. But, yeah, critical, not do or die. Yankee baseball, buckle up at Tampa, House of Horrors, and all the stupid crap, all the dimensions, all the bounces, the roof, the nonsense, the Rays, 20,000 fans. Nope, most of the place doesn't care, and they'll probably win 3 or 4, and then, you know.
Half of them are rooting for the Yankees anyways.
Right. And those people, though, maybe they won't show up, you know. Maybe they won't show up now. Who knows?
All right, we are presented by FanDuel, and tonight's game is in Tampa. Cam Schlittler going against Griffin Jacks. I think it's for that reason, Mike, that FanDuel has the Yankees, believe it or not, as the favorite in this game. They're minus 102 on the money line. The Rays are minus 116. They're giving them the Cam Schlittler bump here, even though the game is in Tampa. We'll see, but he needs to be an ace tonight, right? Cam Schlittler has to go out and be the stopper, the ace, because he has become, I think, the ace of the staff, at least for now. With Cole still trying to find it, Fried injured, Rodon injured, it's Schlittler. So go out and do the job. But if that's what FanDuel thinks the Yankees are going to win tonight, let's hope they are right. All right, we're going to wrap it up, guys. That is Mike Lindsley over there in Syracuse. I am Sal Majorana here in the home office outside of Rochester. We are the Pinstripe People podcast presented by FanDuel on the Believe Network. Please subscribe and like the show. Read all of Mike's look at all of Mike's content on social media. Read my newsletter. In the show notes, you can find the links to all of those things to subscribe. We appreciate your being here today. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you after this Tampa Bay series, which hopefully we're smiling a little bit more, Mike, than we were today. How's that?
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Sal. Appreciate you.
All right. See you guys.